Kurt, it's wonderful to meet you, sir. Thank you for taking a minute up for the show today.
Well, appreciate having the time to be here.
Yes, sir. So let's begin our journey into your good work by asking you this. I always start off with this question just because it was such a big deal, and that was the pandemic. 5 years ago, it changed so many things about our lives. How did you get through that era, and how has it influenced the way that you do work and live your life today?
We didn't really have we worked right through. We do a lot of military work, so we were considered essential.
Yeah,
So we never stopped. I mean, so personal life in Florida, this is free Florida,
yeah.
so it wasn't that hard. But it changed, and most of my workers are remote. So no, we didn't have effect other than what happened to the nation.
Yeah.
Uh, it didn't. It actually was a boom for us because people were home, they had money, they had time, and they had Amazon. So our sales went crazy because they were living their outdoor life esoterically. They couldn't do it in person. So they were buying product like crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
So
and I hear that too. Was there kind of a period where things had to kind of come back to normal, or have you kind of maintained?
yeah, we maintained.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been doing good. Came back just a little bit because it was such a boom year, but no, we're still growing pretty rapidly.
So let's get into exactly what you do on a daily basis. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds. It's career day, and the kid in the back of the room that's always curious is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
You know what? I love the 12-year-olds. This generation Alpha right now, they
Yeah.
are the best generation to have come by in a long time. Inquisitive, learning. They were greatly affected by COVID. So we thoroughly enjoy them. I'm a delegator, so I have incredible people. So I'm really just the visionary. But we make insect repellents, high-tech insect repellents. We do the military. We're kind of the techie brand, not the main brands that you would know. We have a very, very, very strong following. We treat the skin, we treat the clothes, we do water filtration for all the hiking communities. We're number one in all three of those categories in our area. And but we do a lot overseas too. We do water filtration. It's a point of use filter that you just drink, and once water goes through this filter, you cannot get sick, and it never wears out. You just keep cleaning it. And now, as of last week, we're into the malaria treatment business. If you saw the article that broke in JAMA about treating the wrap that they put the baby in with our product, we reduced malaria by 67%.
Wow.
So we are now tackling the two biggest ways of death for young children, which is bad water or malaria. And now we're all in on both of those. So
Wow.
we're having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's humbling that we're being allowed to do this, that God granted us the ability to serve these two areas, but it's also a sense of responsibility. I mean, we have to. We are probably the best choice on earth to do this, so we have to. How do you not?
Yeah, I remember years ago, I didn't grow up thinking like an entrepreneur, but I remember someone telling me at one point, the whole thing about being an entrepreneur, ultimately, if you do it well, is that you're going to solve a problem. And that's exactly what you're talking about right now. You know,
Right.
instead of thinking I want to make gobs and gobs and billions of dollars, if you go in with that idea that you're going to solve a problem, no matter what it is, all of that will follow.
Well, that's how we built the company. We started out with a snake bite kit and then first aid, then repellents and sunscreens. And we would sit in the REI stores for 12 hours and just ask what problems do we have? What can we do? What can we do to help you? What problems can we solve for you? And that's how we built it. Everything has been built up to solve problems domestically. But then, of course, we land on these two technologies which are needed around the world. Now, we kept Sawyer privately held. I still own 100% of it. So ironically, I don't have to make a profit. There's no U-Hauls in heaven, so I'm not taking it with me. So we're able to do that, and our filter never wears out. I mean, we're down to where we can give a person water for life for 30 cents.
Wow.
I mean, it's mind-boggling. Worst case is $1, depending on which system you use. So
Sure.
we got to do it. It's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. So when you were 12 years old, when you were a kid in that career day room, what was your dream job? What did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, ironically, I thought I wanted to be a teacher, but turns out I do not have those skills. Although ironic, and now I'm coming back to it because the book, if you know the book called Sawyer Think, really is a teaching tool for entrepreneurs. That's why we started this thing. So my Grasshopper U is a teaching thing. But I took that test. I guess it was in high school though, and they said you want to be an entrepreneur, and I didn't even know what it was, let alone spell it. We didn't have spell check back there, so
Yeah.
I couldn't write it down. And then pretty soon, yeah, I guess that is it. I was in the corporate world and I said, well, maybe I should go do this myself. So that's who knew?
Yeah. So where were you born and raised?
Upstate New York, a little town called Rotterdam, Schenectady area.
Okay. So what were the foundational elements of your childhood that led you to becoming an entrepreneur, having this life that you have now? What were the seeds that were planted?
Um, well, I had pretty good cognitive skills. I was a thinker, but I'm so far outside the box, I don't know where the box is, and I've always been that way.
Yeah.
I grew up, kind of in the country by myself, so I had to create all my own little things and my own little games to play and whatnot. And I was at a very good high school in the sense that GE paid all the bills, so we had a lot of smart engineers and whatever there. And I was in the advanced group, but I was the last. I mean, there were 20 kids set aside for being little ahead of the rest, but I was the 20th. So I felt like a dummy because all these 19 others were so much smarter than me. I think I didn't have a lot of self-confidence, but went to college and found out, yeah, I really, really do have a little bit of brain power. And I asked when I was, I think a senior in high school, we went on a trip looking for colleges, and I set aside, I've always been a believer. And I said, God, give me one thing, give me wisdom. That's all I want. Just give me wisdom. And apparently I have a little bit of that as other people will point out. So what do you do with it? You use it. So and then I joined the corporate world. I had some very high level jobs with some, two times I had a boss on the cover of Forbes magazine and I did some really clever stuff at big companies that you'd know the name. And then I said, you know what? I I stood outside the office of the president one day and watched him take credit for the stuff I did. He didn't even throw me a bone. And I said, well, I see how this corporate world works. So I'm just going to get out of here and do my own thing. Of course, I immediately flopped because I forgot to switch from corporate marketing to guerrilla marketing. So I always like to say we lost money 23 of the first 25 years till we became an overnight success. So we just had to keep plodding on. We had two very good years, both of the war years, because we have stuff the military wants for repellents. But you just got to keep, I always knew we'd make it. I mean,
Yeah.
I had the skills, we had the right products, kept pouring everything back in, pouring, and then boom, it popped.
So who's been your inspiration? Who's been your heroic force to be successful and to be where you're at today?
I'd have to go back to my faith. I mean, I have such a big God. If he did this whole universe and the creation and all this stuff, I mean, what's my limits? Why should I have a limit? So, and you got one shot at life, go for it,
Yeah.
and that's one of the encouragements I say in the book, think big, get outside the box. I mean, come on, don't limit yourself. Don't limit your God. I mean, just go for it.
Yeah.
We're in America, well, there's no debt or prison anymore,
Yep.
you know, but you got to do it smartly though. I mean, that's what the book is about. I'll give you 25 ways to make sure your plan is correct. You don't just go off half emotional. You gotta have solid business principles behind what you're doing. But why not? What else you got to do?
So the important thing about being successful in your life is surrounding yourself with good people. And my question to you is this: if you could meet one business mind or entrepreneur that exists in the world, spend some time with them, have a lunch, someone that might help you on your journey, who would you love to spend some time with?
Um, I guess I'd go with Elon Musk
Yeah.
because he is so far outside the box. There's no limitation on what he thinks about, and he doesn't let conventional wisdom stop him. Now, I have incredible people at the company, surrounding myself with just the best of the best of the best because I can't. Who doesn't want to be in on what we're doing? But yeah, if I had to just I did read his books. no, I'm not aligned with him morally, but I'm aligned with him in terms of what's stopping your brain from thinking of things. Just, forget what other people think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just go for it. Now, got to come back grounded, but um, I'm so far outside the box.
So let me ask you this. What gets you up every day to do this work at a high level? Take care of your soul, take care of your life. What is that collective energy for you?
Well, I am deep in the faith, so that definitely helps. But we're on a mission now I mean, we've already changed some 30 million lives. I mean, we're 4 or 5 million lives a year. We save hundreds of thousands of babies every year from dying. I mean, how does that not get you up in the morning?
Yeah.
And that was just from the water. Now just as of last week, because of the research that came out supporting our vision, we're going to save so many more babies from malaria. And it's so simple. I mean, it's a buck a baby, and then they don't get malaria. I mean, how do you not do that?
Yeah. Yeah. So if you were to have a dream tonight, you ran into your childhood self in your childhood home, and you had a coffee table book, and that version of you was looking through it and then looked up and said, what am I looking at? And you were like, that's my life. That's how it turned out. Would that young version believe it?
Yeah, actually, I have always believed that we were going to make it. I don't know why. My wife and I, we pinch ourselves to where we are now, how we got here in the path. But yeah, I always said, yeah, I'm here for a reason. So let's just go do it. What do you got in mind here, God? Now let's just go for it. You gave me skills, you gave me wisdom, you gave me cognitive thinking. You stuck me outside the box. So what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
You know?
So let me ask you this. If you were to walk into a room of everybody that knows you in a business sense, as a business leader, as a colleague, everyone that's known you throughout the years, and you could go to a podium in that room and tell them a fun story about you, maybe one of the best places you ever traveled to, an adventure you went on, something that just would humanize you a little bit to that room of business people, what would be a good story you would tell them?
Um, well, it's in the book. It's kind of a business story because it tells you how crazy I am. So back when Gulf War One broke out,
Yeah.
we had just gotten in the sunscreen business, and we're hand filling 2,000 bottles a week, and the contract comes out for 200,000 bottles a week.
Wow.
And of course, I said, "Yeah, we can do that." You know, we'll bid on that. We've been on it. We were, you know, we were almost half the price of the next lowest bid, and I'm sitting there going, "What don't we understand? We're pretty sure we could do this." And we did it. I had a partner who dropped enough money to get the equipment and things, and we did it. We ended up doing 6 million bottles,
Wow.
and we were hand filling these things. And I'm sitting there going, "Yeah, we can do that."
Yeah.
I mean, how do you go home to your wife and say, "Well, she expected it."
Yeah. Yeah. That's wonderful. Do you have a copy of your book with you?
Yeah.
So, talk to me a little bit about what made you write this book. I mean, writing a book is a big deal. What impelled you to do this?
Oh, I fought it for years and years and years. I'm a bit of an introvert, so but I constructed I have a pretty storied career in Northwestern MBA, worked at some places. And so I've been internally and with summer interns doing what I call Grasshopper U. You have much to learn, Grasshopper. And through the years, I developed 25 principles of how to make your business better. And I've been doing that with my people, and they said, "You got to write this. You got to write this." And then finally, with the encouragement of a professor at Northwestern during a reunion, we did. And so it's a multi-layered book. There's 25 tips and tricks of how to make your business better. Then each chapter ends with a story of what we did around the world in terms of saving lives, bringing, transforming people and with bad water and stuff like that. So the concept here is for an entrepreneur to read through this and get enough tips to make their business better. And if you make your business better, now you can do what we do. You can now use philanthropy. I mean, very simple things like we tell you, little tricks to make your restaurant better. But now that it is better and you're more profitable, you look at your advantages. You're buying wholesale. It's not just leftover food. It's the fact that you have buying power or any other business. You have buying power that can be transferred to a need that they can't do. They can't buy at wholesale. They're going to have to go buy, wherever, or it could be anything. It could be plumbing, it could be electricity, it could be consulting services. There's so many ways that you can jump in to helping the world if you have a solid business. And then you got to have the right attitude, right?
Yeah.
So you're not taking it with you. So, share it. That's what the book is for. Let's
Yeah.
make your business more profitable. If you're starting a business, I'm going to start showing you where some of the tripwires are so you don't make mistakes. I don't believe in unintended consequences. You should have thought of that beforehand. Creative destruction, all that kind of stuff. There's no such thing as unintended consequence. You just didn't think it through and you let it hit you. You should be ahead of the game, 3 to 5 years ahead of the game, not behind the game. So that's what the book's for. Let's get you a little more profitable. It's written the ghostwriter, because I'm not a writer, I'm a math person,
Yeah.
didn't have any clue about business. So I had to break this all down into plain English for him. So it's very easy read. There's nothing, I don't use big words because I don't know them.
Yeah.
And, so it's a very easy read. One guy called it an MBA in 200 pages. So,
Yeah. That's great.
yeah.
Speaking of that thought, you had mentioned the 12-year-olds, and I myself too, the Gen Z, the younger generations, I love this tenacity of them building their own thing. There's a real entrepreneurial mindset that goes on with these younger people. So my question to you is this: they look at you, you're successful, you're doing things that are saving lives. What would be the biggest piece of advice you would give that room for their futures, for them to do what you're doing?
Well, the Gen Zs are an interesting mix. Now, we go through every time we change generations, we do a massive overhaul of our communications.
Yeah,
So we study them very greatly, and now we're getting ready for the alphas. The Gen Zs are interesting in the sense they are entrepreneurial, but there's a not all of them. Some of them are looking for the free ride too. So, we have to be careful of those.
yeah,
Um, no, that's what the book was for the Gen Zs. They're just now ready to start businesses. So you need the tools. Now they're not going to college as much as they used to, or the guys aren't going to college as they used to. They're my wife's a trustee at a Christian college, so they just finally started to get an uptick in the percent of college students that are male versus it was 2/3 females. Now the guys are starting to go to college a little bit more. But college is, I don't know if you need it or don't need it. It's a little expensive, but it's how you think. That's why when I hire people, I play mastermind with them. You know the game mastermind?
yeah.
I always want to know how they think. If they played sports, I want to know what their position was so that I can tell how they think on the field, because they all think differently. Forwards and backs think differently and whatever. So I'm always into how you think. So that should be the first thing they should do. How do I think? And if I think the right way, I can be an entrepreneur. If I don't, I probably shouldn't be. I may want to get out of the rat race of the business, but do I have the skills to do it? It's a whole package. It's family, it's faith, it's business, it's health. All of that stuff has to be factored in. But how you think, that's the biggest thing. Understand what you know and what you don't know. Fill in around what you don't know with people who can do that for you. Don't try to do everything if you don't have those skill sets.
I had an IT director that was hiring at one point, and his philosophy of hiring was two main things. You can see everything on paper. There's all the accomplishments, all the education, but he was like, the two main things for him were a positive attitude and a willingness to learn.
Yeah. I also say I'd love to see the bedroom. I'd
Yeah,
love to see how messy or clean it is, because then I'm going to know how they think
that's it.
and I'm disciplined.
That's it. Totally. So, of everything that you've accomplished, and more importantly, evolved to at this point in your life, what are you the proudest of?
Um, I'm not. I just feel like I've been tasked. So, just that we followed it and we used our talents to help others save lives.
Yeah.
So just that. I don't try to dwell on it too long. It's just happening so fast. It's just what I was chosen to do.
So, at the end of the
Can't be
day,
proud. It wasn't me.
Right. Well, and pride can be an ugly thing too. I get that. Um, Let me ask you this. Everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, everyone that works with you, everyone that gets your book, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Oh boy. Well, I'm a delegator. So my job is just to think ahead, be 5 years out, think of, it's ironic that I don't know any of this stuff. I don't know what TikTok is and Instagram, but I have people that do. I just know we need to be there. You guys got to figure that out. So I have so delegated everything that I have so much talent because I let them go. I let them run. I get the best people and I let them go, and that's where we are where we are. It wasn't because of me. It was because of the whole organization. So I'm just the facilitator and the visionary, but I am so loaded with talent. So delegating is important. Again, know what you know and know what you don't know. And I delegate what I don't know.
Isn't that the key to all of it, to know where your place is? I mean, to try not to do what you're not supposed to do. If you know what your role is, you know what your voice is, that's half the battle, isn't it?
I think it's the whole battle.
Yeah,
You're right.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, it's more
yeah.
than half.
So let me ask you this, as an adventurous spirit, as someone that thinks outside of the box, if you could hop into a time machine and go back in time and see one event in human history, it wouldn't create anything weird, any tear in time. You just get to see it happen with your own eyes. What historical event would you love to have witnessed?
Well, now here you see, now I read a lot of history.
Yeah,
I'm very, very important to understand history. I think I've read every civilization that existed. I mean, literally. I try to read 4 or 5 history books a year. I think the most fascinating one, the one I've been fairly recent, is the run up to World War One.
yeah,
That changed the entire thing. You know, that World War One was the last time we had ruling monarchies. After that, it was always government. It was either communist or Democrat, democracies or whatever. But Europe still in 1914, how do you do the bidding of a ruler? Said, go out there and get killed. I don't care. I
yeah.
mean, just the thought process of having a king or a queen, that was it. It stopped in 1914. That was it. And so I read the detail of how that all happened and who did what and why and then did. That's fascinating to me. I mean, you talk about a major shift in the way people are governed. That was it.
And Kansas City houses the only World War One museum monument in the country, and it's beautiful. Have you been to it?
No, but I'll have to.
Yeah,
I love that.
it's right up where all of the parades, well, we won't have parades anymore in Kansas City, but it was where we used to have the parades in front of Union Station. It's the big monument, but there's a museum in there, and it's all dedicated to World War One. It's one of the most exhaustive ones in the country. So, anyways, it's pretty cool. When you said that, I was thinking about Kansas
Yeah.
City. So it's
Yep.
interesting.
That or the Civil War. I do study a lot of that because how do you develop such hatred for people that speak the same language?
Yeah,
I mean, for all the, and there are many reasons why Civil War was fought. I don't necessarily taught all of them, but there were many reasons behind it, economic and political, and obviously slavery. But there were many more behind that.
yeah,
Um, how do you get there? How do you get to a Civil War?
yeah. That's insane. So if anyone wants to pick up your book, they want to reach out, learn about your products, any of the good business, where do they go?
Well, the books are obviously at Amazon. I mean,
Okay.
the digital one, they're pretty cheap. If anybody wants to join what we're doing with water or malaria, we have the Sawyer Foundation, and 100% of all donations go to projects overseas. There's no eating the overhead. Sawyer covers the overhead, and we work together. Sawyer donates the filters, they know the distribution. So whatever it is, if you're interested in saving babies from malaria or whole families from bad water, any donation, doesn't matter, big or small, 100% will go overseas to the projects. Nothing will be eaten up by the foundation.
Wonderful.
So
I will put
love
all
to
of
have you
those,
join.
yes, absolutely. I will put all those links in the show notes. Kurt, what a wonderful conversation. Thank you for your story. Thank you for the work you're doing. I appreciate your time today. It's been wonderful.
Oh no, you have the most provocative questions I've ever heard.
Thank you. Well, you